All right, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Christian Kuntz Podcast. This is part of our 2026 NFL Draft Special, partnered with the Steelers. We got Jesse here with me today, swing behind the boards. Trey is not with us, and I'm actually, he's probably happy he's not with us because Trey's a Pitt guy, and today we have a Penn State legend, Upper St. Clair legend, the general himself, Sean Lee. Let's give it up for Sean. Sean, how you doing today, brother?
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me, man. I'm excited to talk ball.
Absolutely. I want to start this off. I know we were chatting before, but I got a vivid memory of you. I know we never met in person, but, you were a dominant basketball player in high school. In Char Valley, I went to Char Valley. He's in Upper St. Clair. Big rivalry between the two, especially when you were playing. Same conference, like they were killing each other. Anyway, my dad was feeding me info about this guy, Sean Lee. He's like, this dude's a freak. Like, he's playing safety at Upper St. Clair. He's going to go to Penn State. He's a freak football player. Like, when you watch him play basketball, you're gonna be able to tell. Fourth quarter rolls around. I think he had about 25 at the time. You played physical. I loved your game. You played physical hoops. And I think you fouled out against Char Valley. And
Which happened a lot, especially at Char Valley. Yeah. I somehow fouled out a lot at Char Valley. With Coach McConnell and those rests, No, I love Char Valley. I grew up in Char Valley for my first 5 years. I grew up on a street called Bygate Circle, and my neighbors, I went back, my backyard went to the Ventro's yard.
Are you
So
kidding?
for my first 5 years ago, I lived in Char Valley, and then my brother and I used to hop the fence and go play football with Bubba in his yard. So as much as the rival was big, I've always had immense respect for Char Valley on many levels, and the basketball was back and forth. I mean, Coach McConnell's incredible. Those teams were incredible. And it was about skill playing with them, but at the end of the day, it was classic Pittsburgh. It was about how physical, what type of defense you're going to play, who's going to win loose balls on the floor. I mean, that was the type of game we played, mainly because I was a football player who could barely play, so you had to use your physicality, you had to play defense, and that Upper St. Clair and Char Valley had that kind of kindred spirit as much as there was a rivalry there.
Bro, you weren't just a football player playing basketball. You were I'm gonna gas you up a little. You were Fab 22 and Fab 5. So you were the best player and one of the best players in football in the Whitfield, and then in Fab 5 in basketball you're one of the best Whitfield players. But anyway, let me get back to my story because you fouled out and you were intense. You were off. Char Valley student section was giving it to you. I think you untucked your shirt, and I know you remember this. You gave the bird to the student section as you were walking back to
Yeah.
And I love that. I said, dude, that guy's a savage. I appreciate that. You were flicking off the crowd.
I had to bring that intensity in over time to control it. But that, that's like how I grew up. I mean, that's how my dad taught me to play football. And a lot of people in Pittsburgh, like that's how you played any sport, was you coming out, you're going to play a certain way. And my dad was the type of guy who was like, you could score 25 points, but if I didn't, box out or get the rebounds or dive on the floor, he's killing me on the car ride home. But I could score 10 points, but to get every loose ball, box out, play defense. And he was just talking about how good that was. So I think we all came from that background where we emphasized being tough, playing hard, playing the right way. And it showed up, every time you had a chance to compete, you tried to show it that way.
100%. You moved from Char Valley to St. Clair. What year was that? How old were you when you moved? And then
I was probably 5 years old. And moved, came to St. Clair in kindergarten. And my dad grew up in Bethel Park, right on the verge of Upper St. Clair. And Bethel Park, it's an area called Brookside Farms, which is really close to Upper St. Clair High School. But he went to South Catholic and used to play football there. But they would play on Saturdays. So every Friday night he'd go and he'd watch St. Clair play football. And then, he was a huge football fan, huge Steelers fan. He was a huge fan of Jim Render. And so as kids, he wanted us to move in a district where he knew there was a great football coach who was going to be there for a long time. So not only was it, he claims it was about the school, and for him, it was about the football team and the coaching and the atmosphere that was in Upper St. Clair,
Yeah. Well, now high school kids are getting paid to go, they're getting $10,000 to go to school. Yeah. It's literally wild. It's a wild process. Yeah. I want to go into your high school career because obviously, you grew up playing in St. Clair. Jim Render, legendary coach from St. Clair. I know, Huss, my boy Huss that's like his guy, Jim Render. And
no doubt.
Huss and your cousin Morgan, they are out of their minds. They're whacked out of their minds. I love them to death. They're crazy. They were hitting me with some stories about you too. I mean, I guess you broke your wrist in the Whitfield finals in high school, and the next day you're in the gym shooting lefty. You're trying. You break.
Yeah. Well, we lost. So I busted my thumb in the playoffs, and we go to play Central. Those great Central teams with Eugene Jarvis.
Oh wow.
And we did. We playing at Hines, just get 42-10, get run off the field. And so I'm furious. Obviously, you think you're going to win. Next day, though, it's basketball season. So as soon as how it was, you play football and basketball. As soon as football's done, next day we're shooting the ball. So I was, I'm finding a way. I went home. We had a little thaw at home. We cut that cast off in the gym the next day and playing. But that was like how we did it back then, right? That's how, when you had a chance to go play. Now, it's amazing how you could play football all year, and then as soon as you step on the basketball court, huffing and puffing. That's why playing both of those sports, I'd say kids all the time, don't just play football and lift, man. Play basketball, play football, because those two sports, for me, really made me a better linebacker. Without them, I wouldn't be where I was.
See, I love that, because I feel like we're kind of stuck in a society where kids are. You're right. They're playing football all year round, or they're playing hoops all year round, and they're not really, getting the athletic ability that you get from, like, basketball shape is so different than football shape. You could be in unreal football shape and play, like, by the time you hit game 3 in football, you're getting your win. You're about ready to go. But, like, you step on the basketball court, you're done.
Yeah.
You're done.
I think even furthermore, not only are people just focused on a certain sport, but it's a position now. If you're a linebacker training as a young kid, like, that's all you do. And you obviously played other positions. Do you think that helped translate into your game? Like, when you're playing safety in high school in your earlier years, do you feel like that had an impact for you as a linebacker as you entered the league?
Game changer. I mean, being able to play corner and safety in high school, you see the game from a different perspective. You always see it from top down. There was an understanding of the passing game that I had in high school, to where when I stepped into playing linebacker at Penn State, curl flat. I know, I got to look at, got to go flat, you got to go to the curl. I get a crosser, I got an in cut. I'd seen all that. So understanding how to play in space, and every drill I did in high school was a DB drill. So it was playing in space, it was moving around, it was understanding spatial awareness. And then I kind of moved into playing linebacker. So, but there was transition, obviously using your hands, you being physical, being, taking on linemen. But I can't tell you how much it helped me playing safety. But even as a young kid, I mean, I started playing as 9 years old as a nose tackle. I had that old face mask that had the bar down the middle.
Yes.
And I was like, Mike, you got off the ball, took a gap, and then my dad's like, hey, take that bar and you put it on someone's number, and that's how you tackle. So I played nose tackle, I played linebacker, I played corner. And so understanding the entire scope of the game and how to play was huge for me. And the thing is, you put me anywhere on the field, like as a kid, you put me anywhere on the field, I'm going to just hustle and try to make plays.
It's huge.
So that kind of competitiveness, it doesn't matter where you put me. I want to go try to make an impact on this team. So, whatever you need for the team, that was kind of as a young kid, I was learning from my brother, from the guys around me. And really, I just want to be on the football field playing.
Bro, you're firing me up right now. I feel like you still got miles on you. You still can do it.
No miles.
No, you're
no
done?
miles, man. I'm pulling hamstrings tying my shoes right now. It's knees are gone.
What about the golf swing? What about the golf swing?
Golf swing's terrible. I still hoop. I hoop at the YMCA, just picking on older guys. Guys 15 above. I box. I'm terrible at boxing, but I box because it's great. And then I love skiing. I ski. Like I'm on the mountain a lot trying to ski. That is my new outlet where I can try to hit that mountain as much as possible. And that's been my biggest hobby transition from football, is being able to be on the mountain skiing and being outside. Love it.
I love that. How's the skiing on your knees? I know you got plagued with some injuries, but
you did. We both did ACLs, right? I mean, so the rehab and the recovery. I would say this though: that ACL made me a better football player, the tear, because it made me understand how to train better and how to come back from something. I knew that I can come back from anything, and then the exercises you learn to get better and come back, I still do those. Step downs, RDLs, all the things that keep your legs and back strong. So I always say, getting hurt. It's terrible. It takes a long to come back, but it makes you a better player, makes you a better person, because you cherish how much your time in the field. And it made me better. I worked out harder. I knew how to work out. I got directed in the right way. So I've done both ACLs, and each time I feel like I become a better player after it, just from all the stuff I've learned from that process. But yeah, they feel great because of surgery and all the work.
Hell yeah. I mean, the doctors now are so good. Like the ACL surgery, you do come back strong. I benefited from an ACL surgery in college too. I did it playing hoops. After I earned a scholarship my sophomore year, I had one of my best seasons, and I was told I was going to put on full ride at Duquesne. And then 3 weeks later, I'm playing intramurals, and obviously, like, I'm a competitor. Like, these kids that play intramurals, like, they take that seriously. That's their Super Bowl, and I'm in there, and I'm competitive as hell. So I'm boxing out, and we jump for a rebound. I tear my ACL, I have to sit out my year. Tell my coach Jerry Schmidt, like, hey, I know you just put me on full ride, but I tore my ACL. I'm gonna be out for the whole year, and it did make me better. I came back stronger, more mature, and I learned the game a lot more. And I didn't understand the game. I didn't play. You played all 3 levels. You played nose tackle, and yeah, you were young as hell, but it sounds like, you know, your dad was pretty influential in, you know, your football career. You played safety and then moved to linebacker. So you have I guess that's why you earned the nickname the General.
Yeah, I mean, that's where, and you were the same way. If you're going to call the huddle and you're going to lead, there's a certain type of work ethic you're going to have to show up with it. And it's not even just a game, it's every single practice. So if I'm calling the huddle, I need to be able to make every call perfect to make the practice rep perfect. And not only is it the effort and the tone at which you call the huddle, it's also the body language of every single play. Okay, bad play, next play, we're going to stand up, we're going to face the huddle, we're going to go attack again. So that attitude of, hey, I'm going to learn everything possible. I'm going to be, you know, rehearsing this game nonstop. So I know everything. It's not just for me, it's for my teammates, to make sure my teammates are right. So this defense is right, so we can play. So every practice snap, every walkthrough, every time, they have to be perfect. Because as you get in the NFL, you guys know you only have so many reps to get good. So if you got a practice rep, it's got to be right. You do not. Plus, no one wants to repeat practice reps, right? You want to clean. You want to be on the field, off the field. And so to me, that was my attitude. And I learned that from a bunch of great guys. I mean, I got to walk into Penn State, and I got, you know, Paul Posluszny and Dan Connor, 2 All-Americans. Paul's a Pittsburgh guy, who are just the most disciplined, smart guys. So I just walked in there, and once again, my dad, he said, listen, when you get to Penn State, keep your mouth shut, follow the guys who are working hard, and do exactly what they're doing. So I saw Paul, I saw Dan, I followed them everywhere. My sophomore year, I slept on Paul's couch in the summer and ate what he ate, worked out with him in the morning, followed him everywhere. So I had this incredible training, not only in college, but like with Coach Render. Like my whole life, I had such incredible football influence. I got coached by the great Tunch Ilkin in rec football. I mean, think about an NFL. So I think of all the influence I had leading up to the NFL. Really, that attitude was taught by all those incredible guys who were gracious enough to, you know, pull me under their wing and show me the way.
That's incredible. Good.
Yeah. So does that translate all the way back to high school in your early years with you being this field general? Like you were one of those guys, like when I think of like field generals as linebackers, I think of you and Luke Kuechly. So like guys that already know what's coming before the ball's even snapped, looking at all the little details, foot placement. I saw that you studied everything down to the finest detail. Was that something that was instilled, you know, from father or coaches early on? Or did you develop that as like, hey, I need an edge as the talent rises, I need something to give myself an edge. So where did that, you know, develop for you?
That it's actually a great point because early, I mean, I bought in that as a young kid. And so learning the game and, you know, my whole family, my dad, my brother, my family was all obsessed with the game. So we're constantly watching it, trying to learn it. But that's one of those things that you're constantly improving. And so each level, you're going to have to be better and better and better at it. And so as a margin for error, and you're playing against better players, you're going to have to make sure that, you know, that level of details that you understand the game has to get better and better. And then when you get to the NFL, I mean, this is what you do all day, every day. So for me, I'm like, listen, I get paid to do this all day, every day. I was constantly thinking about the game to the point where you're waking up in the middle of the night, you know, and thinking about a call or thinking about a play. I compare it sometimes, you know, when we were kids, you got a video game over Christmas, and let's say you're playing Mario Kart, you know, you play for 8 hours straight. And then like when you're going to sleep, you can see Rainbow Road as you close your eyes, right? Like that's how it was with football with me. Like I wanted to constantly be thinking about it, constantly rehearsing on it. Because when you got on the field now, especially now with the NFL, the movement and the shifts are, you know, you go from one formation to the next one, and you're going to have to make a call. You're going to move a gap. You got to change your key. So constantly rehearsing what your calls are, how you're going to communicate, where your alignment is, where your keys are, how they change based on emotion, on motion, and then situational football as, you know, a team moves up and down the field. How do they operate within these situations? That's something that I, you know, continue to grow more and more obsessed with and then with the NFL, that's when you really kind of grow into yourself.
You're like a walking book, dude, of football knowledge. I feel like you never thought about coaching. Have you ever thought about coaching? You'd be an unbelievable coach.
I got an 18-month-old baby girl daughter. And so right now it's hard to get away from, it's hard to get away from her. I can't lie. Yeah. So that right now, and like, family wise, when I retired as family, being able to be with the family was big for me. Unfortunately, my dad was diagnosed with cancer. So, right around when I retired, so I was able to have some incredible time with my dad and my family, and being able to travel with him and be with him. And then when I had Sia, who is my baby girl, she being with her has been incredible. So right now, that's the family has been more the focus. But when I get out like this, you get to talk with football guys like you guys. It's always incredible.
100%. You were talking about some of the influence you had in some of these guys, and I know there's a viral clip of you and Van Der Esch, I believe, getting absolutely reamed out by one of your coaches, and you guys are both just sitting there, like, just taking it, like, as you should. You're taking the coaching, but it looks like he's kind of like, I think you probably know what I'm talking about, that clip. It's gone viral, about how you and Van Der Esch were just kind of like sitting there. And I know he was kind of under your wing there. You were towards the end of your career. He was coming up. I feel like that's just such an important point, because, kids see nowadays fighting in the handshake line, and coaches getting into it with coaches on the sideline, and kids slamming their helmet. I understand frustrations, but to see that clip and like how professionals take criticism, like it's just important, and I appreciate that. And I know you know what clip I'm talking about, Jess.
Yeah. You probably won.
Yeah, well, yeah. You need it, especially if you have a coach who loves you and he's trying to get you better. That passion is him just trying to get you better. And also, so that clip is from the 2018 Rams playoff game in the Coliseum before they moved to SoFi. And they first half they'd run for 100, maybe 150 yards. So we deserve to be yelled at. I mean, that's one of these things when you have standards and you're not living up to the standard, you want to be told by a coach, hey, you're not living up to your standard, and you need to pick it up. And the fact that, hey, not only that, by the way, Chris Richard, great coach. Afterwards, now he sat us down and said, okay, these are the runs they're running. This is how we're going to stop it. And so that not only is he going to yell at you, but he's going to show you how to improve in real time and how to stop these things. And in the middle of a game, that's all you care about is, hey, let's go get better. Let's go get this win. That's in the past. Let's go get better. And so when you have a coach like that cares about you, that's how you respond.
Yeah, 100%. That's important, because I feel like a lot of these kids, they don't understand that part of the game. Right. They don't understand that part. Like, hey, this coach he might be yelling at you, but he's yelling at you for a reason, to make you better. So right. I appreciate you sharing that.
Do they still use a line, like the line that and this is like my dad, when the coach stops yelling at you, that's when you worry? Oh, right. Yeah. That's like the old line. Yeah. Right. I mean, it's like, I want the coach to yell. I was told, when he's yelling at you, means he's not considering you as a guy who can make an impact. So you want to be yelled at, you want to be coached, you want to get better. I mean, if you really truly believe and you want to get better every day, you're going to get yelled at, you're going to get coached hard. That's the only way to get better.
100%.
Yeah. Even Brady's took that. Brady would ask for it. He would get reamed by Belichick, and you would think Brady's an untouchable. So, the guys that really are about it really want that. Do you see that getting a little bit lost in football? Like where, like Christian was mentioning, the fact that, maybe it's more player-centered or emotions are different. Like, do you feel like there are some things from old school football that what you grew up in, are we getting a little away from that? Or do you think it's just, just kind of where things are at right now and it's still alive in culture today?
No, I mean, I think the young guys are incredible. And when, the guys that I played with who were young, maybe it was different, from the standpoint of communicating, how you communicate. But when it came to playing football and wanting to be great, the guys who I played with in my career were incredible. You talk about Van Der Esch. Leighton was there early, studying nonstop. He might not have been as vocal as me, maybe, and some people would say I need to shut up sometimes, but he was a guy that who would, was quiet, but would bring it nonstop. And it was the same type of guy who was hardworking, who played the game the right way, played through injuries. I mean, the guy had a neck injury, had surgery, came back, and was still an incredible football player afterwards. So I think maybe the style is different, but the guys I saw in my career were still incredible football players who love to get better.
Love that. What led you into going to Penn State? Was it always Penn State? How many offers did you have coming out of high school? Why not Pitt?
So Pitt. So it's a good question. So I got offered originally. First offer was West Virginia. Walk in, Rich Rod, and love them. Walt Harris was late, for whatever reason, did not offer me right away. And so I think there was some animosity there. And then when Penn State offered, I went to my official visit. I went to a Iowa Penn State game. It was 6-4. It was not a good game, but all I saw was, linebackers for Penn State running around, and it was Paul and Dan and Tim Shaw running around making all these plays. And I'm like, those guys look like me. Maybe I can play like those guys. And Penn State had not been very good in the early 2000s. And when I walked into Beaver Stadium, they'd only won 3 games that year. Still 100,000 people screaming. There was something about Beaver Stadium for me to be able to play. That was really the only stadium I could go to. 110,000 people, certain type of atmosphere. And then when you go to State College, kind of the way in the center of the state, that's, it's the only thing around, except dairy farms around it. The whole thing seemed like the exact football experience I wanted, and Coach Paterno and the history. And then when I got out there my freshman year, we ended up going 11-1, playing in the Orange Bowl, and kind of took off from that point on. So for me, it was just the history, the stadium, and kind of the guys that I saw that, hey, if he Paul Posluszny's from Pittsburgh, he's an incredible player. I want to be like him.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing like a Penn State whiteout game. A Penn State game in general, they're crazy.
Yeah.
The fans there, they're diehard football. It's unbelievable. It's in the center. There's nothing to do besides either you're going to party at Penn State or you're going to play football.
Yeah.
Well, that's right. And sometimes both. Sometimes both. We after a good win, sometimes both after a good win. My first game was against Ohio State. It was at night. We were 6-0. We had been bad, and I was just on kickoff coverage. So I burned my red shirt just on kickoff coverage. I run out for the first kickoff, 110,000. That's when they started playing Zombie Nation. So they're playing that, and the whole stadium's jumping to the point where you can feel the stadium jumping. So I'm, juiced out of my mind. I get it, get a great get off, go make my guy miss, and I'm going to make a tackle on the kickoff return guy, and all of a sudden he makes a cut and just runs right past me, like incredibly fast. The guy was at Ted Ginn. He was pretty fast, pretty good football player. And so I go running after him. He was a decent player. Yeah. I go running after him, and he, our contained guy turns back, and he goes down, and I dive on the pile like I made the tackle. But I would say this, I've never had as much energy coursing through my body before a football game than that snap. Penn State at night, Ohio State, Zombie Nation on a kickoff. There's nothing that's been able to replicate that.
Yeah, I got chills thinking about that because, I played at Duquesne, and I think we sit about 2,600 up there on the hill, up on the bluff there, 2,600. It's not quite like a Penn State game, but the fans are right on top of you at Duquesne. I'm not going to lie. If you ever been up there, we got cement bleachers on the visitor side that you can hit somebody so hard they'll hit the cement. It's kind of great. You get a little late hit action, 15 yards, they hit the cement. Or just send a tone. It's a tone center.
That's good. That's good. Set the tone, man. But you're getting it now. I mean, that considers incredible. I mean, the incredible atmosphere. You're tapping into that now. That energy was incredible. The playoff game was, that first half was incredible. The fans of Pittsburgh, they're as good as you're going to find. So that type of energy, it's amazing. Like the 2020 season when you didn't have fans in the stadium, that was wild. It was amazing how much you feed off that incredible energy.
That COVID year, we talk about that frequently. That was a weird time. You could hear everybody's calls. So would you say that was an advantage for the offense or advantage for the defense? Like you're hearing, I don't know, if you're a quarterback, you're hearing what they're calling. If they're calling a cloud coverage, if the safety's rolling down, you hear certain calls as a quarterback. You think that was more of an advantage that there was no crowd for the offense or the defense?
That's good. I think probably offense in general. I think the smart quarterbacks are going to make calls. They're going to change calls. They're going to have dummy calls. And then you're going to have no resistance from the standpoint of a stadium that's not loud. I mean, if you have a properly loud stadium, you have to come up with a game plan. You have silent counts. You're going to have to signal. It becomes much harder for an offense to operate when the stadium is very loud. So to me, you're walking in to a stadium that's quiet as a quarterback. You're dictating the pace of the game. You can change your signals at any point. It's much harder when you're reacting defensively to offenses like that. And, defensively, how it is, you're a linebacker. We feed off that energy. And so having that energy whenever you're kind of the momentum swinging your way defensively is huge. And, we constantly talked about, if you're on the sideline, bring the juice. Guys, don't be sitting around and we talked about bringing juice on the sideline because we needed to manufacture that energy somehow.
Yeah, no, I can't stand when guys are flat on the sideline. Mm-hmm. You need the sideline to be hype, and I understand the college sideline's a bit different than the NFL sideline. You got 90, 100 guys on the sideline in a college game. In the pros, those sidelines look empty with players. There's more coaches and more personnel and more like trainers than there are players. And it, when there's no energy in a college game, you got some of the guys that are maybe redshirted. They're dressed. They're probably hungover. Like they're not really. They're not in. It's real. It's real, and they're not really into the game. But the sideline energy and the guys that aren't playing play a huge part in like the demeanor of your whole team. I agree.
That's why you got to that's why you got 53 guys, and then you got some of the practice squad guys, and everybody's got to bring that, and that's like we talk about it all the time about bringing positive energy no matter what in any situation. That's something as an NFL team, you're playing such great players. You're going to give up big plays. You're going to lose games. The teams that can keep that positive energy, continue to fight, go to the next snap. The teams I've run, the teams who did that the best, we were the most successful teams throughout my 11 years, were the teams that, hey, we're not going to be stopped. And you can feel it, right? I mean, you can feel like whatever happens, we're going to find a way to get that fourth quarter, and we're going to find a way to win most of the time. I've been on other teams throughout my career that for whatever reason, energy wasn't right, weren't able to do it. And, so always trying to, that was one thing as a leader that, trying to bring that constantly. That's why I talk about Dak Prescott all the time. Dak came in as a young guy, had that instantly. That's why you see him, the energy he has, the person he is. Even halfway through my career, he might be younger than me, but that was a guy I started to learn from, the poise and the positive nature that he operates every single day from. That's the type of guy that you need on your team.
And you're not surprised when you see a guy like that after what you said of why he became so successful and why he's passing for so many yards every year. He's lighting it up every year.
Yeah. What were you like on the field? I mean, you're definitely like got this silent killer type vibe. Like when you would step on the field, like would that switch flip? Like would you kind of go into a little bit more crazy of a mode or what?
Yeah, I mean, there's energy you brought up, but I was also looking like I was the type of guy, like I'm making a tackle. That's what I do. Like I'm going to get up and we'll get right back to the huddle. Like there had to be a big play to get me running up and down, but like when it came to my energy was about the hustle, interplay nonstop. I make a tackle. That's great. Now, if I'm interception, things that are game changing, yeah, we're going to go nuts. But to me, it was more about, I'm going to be here constantly. I'm going to be at the ball. I'm going to try to hit every single ball that I can. I'm going to line up again, and I'm going to be here no matter what. And so that was really what because it's that consistency that you want, not only game to game, but play in and play out. And, as a linebacker, you want to hit every ball. I mean, I wanted to make every tackle. I want to put my face on every ball carrier I want. So any way I can try to get to the football and hit, that was my goal. And then whenever we were able to have a big play, let's go celebrate and get it done.
I'm about to put this helmet on right now. I'm about to put this thing on and run through.
Let's go. Look at that thing. 70 tackles for loss with that helmet. You kidding me? 70?
I honestly was just doing whatever. They would ask me what I wanted to call. I was going in. I was knifing under the tight end when I wasn't supposed to be. I was supposed to have contain. I was just doing just to make a play.
Well, if the linebackers behind you, make you right, man. You got good guys behind you, do whatever the hell you want. Yeah.
Exactly. That's why those guys. I got a boy from Montour that played with me at Duquesne, and he's always telling people he owns his own small business here in Pittsburgh, and he's always telling people I made him, who he is, because I made him right every time he was wrong.
I said that about DeMarcus Ware, but it doesn't hold water. I don't think that's the truth, But the guys like you who, disruptive guys on the D-line change everything. So if you can make plays, it doesn't matter. And if a guy like you is going to be spiking disruptive, you just play patient right behind him. And then you do make plays off of that all the time.
Yeah, hey, you're forgetting the sacks too. 31 and a half sacks. I think it was 31 and a half. I mean, I know what it is.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So that's great. That's why that helmet's marked out. That's why it's marked out.
I add a half a sack every time I tell somebody. So it's gone from like.
That's something. It grows. Yeah, the legend grows for the way you get. I love that.
And I know you'll appreciate this too. I became friends with Aaron Rodgers this year. A teammate of mine, and he's obviously a first ballot Hall of Famer, and he's a hilarious dude, an unreal teammate, a character, a straight character when you get to know him. And I got his phone number off. We have a team app, and he doesn't give his phone number out. No one gives their phone number out to any guy. You just go on a team app, whatever, get his phone number, and
Interesting.
I made it a point to send this guy my highlight tape every time I was either out at the bar drinking or whatever it was. It was a late night. I had a drink or two. I sent Aaron my highlight tape. So my text thread is about 10 Duquesne highlight tapes to Aaron and no response.
Yeah. No response, of course. No response. No, what a stud, man. What a career, what a stud. I mean, listen, when I was playing with the Cowboys, we couldn't beat them. 2014, we go up there. And here's the thing, people talk about that game, like there's catch, non-catch, whatever. The thing that defines that game is he had a pulled calf that game. And so that guy comes out and dominates with a pulled calf. They came out in pistol half the game so they changed the game plan. And he goes on and just was, can't beat him. And then 2 years later, 2016, we play him at home and back and forth game. And he makes this incredible throw on the sideline to beat us to go, with Jared Cook. And like even throughout the game, like obviously there's the talent of Aaron throwing the ball. We had a great safety name with Jeff Heath. I think maybe the third quarter, he comes free off the edge and he hammers, Aaron in the back. And we're thinking any other quarterback that falls, fumble, we're recovering, maybe scoring a touchdown. This guy holds on to the ball, gets back up, dusts off like he never got hit. So not only is he talented, he's tough, he's smart. What an incredible career the guy has had. And obviously I'm a huge fan, even though he beat us most of the time we played him.
He is truly an ultimate competitor. Like he don't want to lose in anything.
He really is.
Yeah. Like he's a fiery, and I love that. You got to be a little bit, if you're going to play quarterback, middle linebacker in the league, and you're going to be, the general of the offense or defense, like you better have some spark to you that gets everybody else going.
There's and the length, like to play that long, that well. You know what I mean? And then to be able to adapt as your body changes at that position. And so that to me is it's not only the year to year, but to be able to do that over the scope of a career as well as that does take a certain mindset that he has.
Yeah. His arm is still full throttle. Like I'm
crazy.
I get amazed every time I see him throw the football because like he's 40-something, he's 41. I don't know how old he is, but he's just doing it, still zipping the ball. It's actually wild to see in person. Like, obviously we see it on TV, and you almost take it for granted because you're like, he's just been doing it. He's playing football. It's Aaron Rodgers. Yeah. But when you see it in person, he's still doing it the way he's doing it. It's remarkable. It's really remarkable.
That's so true. But then there's certain guys. I mean, there's a lot of talent within the NFL, but then there's certain guys, talent-wise, when you see it, it's something different. When I first got in 2010, DeMarcus Ware. Seeing him get off the ball, I'm like, I'm standing still and he's getting off the ball. I mean, it just was different. Then you walk in the weight room and he's hang clean the 315 for 25 reps. It's like, I'm going to go to the other platform. I think I'll go all the way to the end of the weight room. I'm not going to go near this, So that you see some of these guys, and Aaron's in that class where, not only generational player, but the talent around him and the mindset is incredible.
100%. Take me to when you got drafted by Dallas. I mean, you went from Penn State playing, Beaver Stadium, probably arguably the best atmosphere in college football, to the Dallas Cowboys, one of the most historic franchises in football, huge crowd, AT&T Stadium. I don't know when that was built, but I'm sure, it was sometime in your career. But talk me through like the whole draft process, when you realized you were going to, you had the potential to get drafted, and then draft day. What was draft day like for you?
So in junior year of college, when you come in, I'm just trying to play and get better and better. Junior year of college, I put in, back then you could put your papers in and get a draft grade. So I end up getting a draft grade that's in kind of second, third round as a junior.
What do you mean? Wait, what do you mean? Sorry to interrupt. What do you mean putting in the paper?
You could put like back then you could put in, and maybe they still do it, where you could put in to the NFL, you could apply like your name, and then they would give you a range of where you could get drafted. Really? And so basically it was, if you're a junior and you want to leave early, they would give you a draft grade. And then let's say maybe it wasn't the grade you want, then you would come back to school, or, so it was kind of a directional way to understand how the NFL looked at you. So when I got that grade back, I didn't know what the grade would be, and it ended up being pretty good. So I knew after that year, okay, I got a decent shot. And then I had teammates play, and I'm like, if they can play, I think I have a shot also. And then I go into spring football and I tear my right ACL, and then come back, and then going into my fifth year, 3 games in, I partially tear the other ACL. And so going from basically that junior year where you think you're going to play until now these last 2 years, I'm like, keep having these knee injuries. I'm banged up. Have no clue if I can continue to play, am I going to be able to come back? And luckily I finished my 5th year and this knee ends up holding up and I'm able to go through the combine, the workouts. And I don't know how, but thank God, God protected me, protected that knee. And I was able to make it to the draft. Now, going into the draft, I knew teams liked me in that 2nd, 3rd round range, but I didn't know if they were going to say, hey, that left knee's banged up. We're not going to draft you. So I get to draft night and, you know, my agent said, hey, listen, this is the range you have. But this is back when, right when they started to segment the draft from, it used to be 12 noon on Sunday, the whole draft all day. Well, now it's the first round on Friday night or Thursday night, and then 2nd and 3rd. So I'm like, listen, I'm going to bring all my friends over. I'm going to bring my family over. And, you know, we think we're going to go in this range. Well, we get into it and I start to, you know, some of the teams that I think are going to take me, they pass on me. And so I'm thinking to myself, I got half the room, half my house is split. You got my friends who are at my draft party who do what they do at a draft party, right? And they're ramping up. And then the other side of the room is, you know, my family. And with each pick that I don't get picked, you know, people are getting more nervous, more anxious. And, you know, finally, you know, I think it was the Steelers. We thought I had a chance at the Steelers. And the Steelers end up passing, you know, which is, you know, how it goes. There's a lot of good football players in the draft. And, you know, and me at that point, I just want to play football. I've been injured. I just want to be out there. I just want to play. I want a chance to play. Now, my mom was not very happy because she wanted me in town. And so, like, she's kind of, I have to walk out of the room. She's storming around. She's saying some things about the Steelers that aren't great. I'm like, Mom, we need to keep this under control, you know? So finally, I'm like, I get worked up. I'm like, man, I don't know if I'm going to get drafted. I think, you know, with the knee, I have no clue. I got all my buddies over. I got all my family over. You know, I might have to wait till tomorrow to get drafted. I literally walk outside. And as soon as I say that to my brother, who's like consoling me, I get a call from an unknown number. And another line is Jerry, you know? So he gets that, says, Sean, hey, want to congratulate you. You're going to be a Dallas Cowboy. So I come running back into my house. I kick the door open and I say, the Cowboys are taking me. The Cowboys are taking me. And the whole house explodes. And so it's just like goes from this experience where you're frustrated, you think, you know, you don't know if you're going to get drafted, to all of a sudden this kind of incredible moment that I got to celebrate with my friends and family. And the rest of the night, I mean, we were up till 4:00, you know, smoking 5 cigars and having a hell of a time. What an experience!
You woke up down at the Crafty Jackalope down in Bridgeville. That's where you woke up.
I think it was RPMs. I think I was on the deck at RPMs.
Wow, that is unbelievable. RPMs, that place. I had my fair nights at RPMs as well.
No, but listen, it's a nerve-wracking thought. It's crazy, but at the same point, like, you get on the other side of it, then none of it matters, right? You got to go prove yourself after that. I think of my teammate Barry Church, who's a Penn Hills guy, Pittsburgh guy. He came in with the Cowboys. 2010, undrafted free agent. Okay, Barry goes on to have a 10-year career, and why? Because Barry, every exercise, every drill, every practice, Barry, you know, brought it. You know, it didn't matter what time of the day it was. He'd show up at 2 a.m. in the morning. If you told him, hey, we're going to go play football, I'll be there at 2 a.m. ready to hit. I mean, so, you know, drafted, undrafted, doesn't matter. It's what you do after the draft that's going to define you. And so guys are going to have great time. Like, it's a great memory, don't get me wrong, but and then Barry probably was frustrated, but guess what? He used that as fuel and went and changed his life. So it's great, but it's what you do on the other side. It's how you play. It's how you perform. None of it matters after you get drafted.
Did you, at the end of your career, did you play with Mike McCarthy? And if so?
I did my last year.
Yeah. Okay. What do you think he's going to bring to Pittsburgh, being a Pittsburgher himself? So what are your thoughts on him coming to the Steelers?
Well, first thing, you're going from one Hall of Fame coach to another Hall of Fame coach. So Coach Tomlin, unbelievable, the career he had, Super Bowls, the weight, you know, no losing. The fact that you have no losing season over the time is incredible. It's, you know, Tom Landry. So you have that incredible culture in Pittsburgh that's been there forever. You know, that's been at the organization forever. And then Mike, who is the same type of guy, incredible offensive coach, incredible guy who's adapting practice. You know, my last year, when I first got in the NFL, the practice was, you know, Wednesday pads, Thursday shells, Friday red zone. Well, Mike's going to change the practice and use sensors, use analytics to really mold his practices week in and week out. So he's got the incredible offensive background of being a play caller, and then he's got this kind of ability to adapt his practices. And then, the type of person, he's an unbelievable person, great guy, ton of fun to be around, a true football guy. So you're going to get the combination of this Pittsburgh old school toughness, along with his offensive innovation, along with the way he kind of has changed over time with his practices. And so, it's an incredible story too, to think of a guy who grew up in Pittsburgh, who's had an incredible coaching career, and now is able to be back home with a hometown team. I can't wait to watch him because he's a great coach, great person, and Steelers are in good hands. There's no doubt.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I know people, Twitter, social media, it's all over the place nowadays. Like they just say whatever, and you could see whatever, but you don't coach the Green Bay Packers, the Dallas Cowboys, and now the Pittsburgh Steelers if you ain't doing something right. Whether that's
no doubt
offensively, defensively, how you lead, like you're doing something right. If you're those are probably the three most historic franchises in football.
Yeah,
and you've been the head coach at all of them. It's kind of wild.
And he's won.
And he's won. And he's won.
He's won too. He's won the Super Bowl. He's won consistently. Similar to Coach Tomlin, where he's won big, he's won consistent. And then you watch the teams playing, they play the right way. I mean, so it's that combination that you're going to get again with him.
Yeah. What was when you got into the NFL? Give me like a vivid story you remember. Maybe you're like, people love hearing about a welcome to the NFL moment. And you as a linebacker, I know you probably had a bunch of big ass guards coming up on you, and fullbacks leading up and ISO. I mean, give me like your welcome to the NFL moment. If someone really gave it to you and you're like, holy shit, this is a bit different.
I got two. I got a special teams one that you'll appreciate, and then I got playing linebacker. So first year we're up in Minnesota, and I came in like in the heavy package. I was like the fourth linebacker that came in, and we were like spilling everything, and I was going to scrape over the top. Well, the guy I had to tackle was Adrian Peterson, and so I go to tackle this dude, and he hits that legendary jump cut, and I'm like, I don't even see him. I don't even know what it was. There's a feel when you play against it, like, what the hell? I miss him terribly, right? And so I'm like, I can't believe how fast the guy is. And so I had like a bunch of pads in on my legs. I go to the sideline and I take all my pads out of my pants, like it's going to make a difference, like it's going to do anything. But I just felt so overwhelmed. I'm like, there's no way I could tackle that guy. There's no shot. And so that was with that. And then on teams, I was coming down and I had a, like a little bit of an AC joint. So I was like, they put me away from the kick. So they go kick a left. Well, they bring that counter back. You're looking for that two-man wedge back then. They had the two-man wedge back then. So they counter. And one of the guys, there's, back in Washington, there was a fullback, guy named Mike Sellers, was kind of one of the last big 265. And there's a guy named Lorenzo Alexander. So Lorenzo was a Pro Bowl special teams guy. So was Sellers. All right. So that wedge comes back. And instead, when you see that wedge, you got a thin foot, thin shoulder, spill it, kick it, move. Well, I was not looking to use my shoulder that game. So I try to face it up, try to put my face right on Sellers. Well, as soon as I do that, Lorenzo takes that helmet, puts it right here. They knock me out, pick me up in the air, slam me on the ground, and I'm just laid out cold for about 10 minutes. And so then I was supposed to go in on defense, like I was rotating in, and I got on the sideline, and I'm like, I wake up 10 minutes later on the bench. This is before they took you into the locker room. And I look over to the great linebacker, Keith Brooking, and I look over and I go, Keith, hey, Keith, how'd I do on that defensive series? He goes, whoa, buddy, you didn't make it in, like
you were
just like, complete. Yeah, I wasn't even in. Like I thought I played. I thought, but those are the things like, it's like talk about dudes that can like a proper professionals that played on special teams their entire career, who know how to play the right way, who are big dudes. Like you see some guys, 300-pound guys on kickoff coverage that would, their one goal was to run you over. So that kind of physicality, that kind of speed, those type of professionals that you not only did you see on offense and defense, you saw it on the special teams too. I mean, those guys made a living for 10, 15 years purely on teams because of the type of toughness and type of dudes they were.
Yeah, the kickoff game obviously has changed since that time, but now we're seeing way more 300-pounders out there at the fives interior because it's all button press. Like it's basically the kickoff play now is an outside zone. It's an outside zone play.
Yeah.
Obviously you get your counters and stuff if a team's really overplaying, but it's all button press. So these guys that are on kickoff, you got running backs out there that are on kickoff return blocking a DN that's 320 pounds.
Crazy.
Like those DNs are running 4.7s, 4.6s, full speed button press on a running back. Like it's a mismatch problem. And I think, the special teams game, it's changing. It's changing. And I hate to say this, but I can see them eventually one day maybe eliminating the punt play because there's so many injuries at the gunner position. That's the number one, most injury prone position in the NFL. And I just have this bad vision in my head that they're going to be trying to get rid of that because safety initiatives and whatnot. But we're a pro specialist podcast. We often talk about special teams. But what was your?
I am too, because I see those guys play like listen, I was on punt coverage all through college.
That's what I was
Penn State. Joe wanted all of the linebackers on punt coverage, so I played guard. That's back, and that was back. We did the old kick step. We weren't kind of spread out at that point. Yeah, inside arm, secured, get the depth, looking, be ready for twist. Right? Do not get you're coming straight back. Do not move wide. Do not. Yeah, right. And that was, and then you had to button press and had to go. And then I've seen. I just think you think of I think of long snappers. I don't think people understand these positions where you're one of 32 people in the world that can do what you do. And so you guys go unnoticed, but you're such an essential part of the game because you have to have the snap right. It's got to be in point. There's yards. If you have a bad snap, that's yards. That's 2 first downs possibly because the punt could be bad, right? The gunner, he gets a fair catch. Gunner gets a fair catch half the time. That's tackles for loss.
That's
right?
A win.
That's saving 10, 15 yards, right? That yardage game is so big within a game that I don't know if people fully understand how important it is, and I don't know if they understand how specialized these positions are, how good they are, and how few people there are that can do that. Like the gunners, man, that's a full-time position where a lot of times you're getting doubled. If you're good, you're getting doubled. You got 2 guys that you're fighting through the whole time, and you have to be such an athlete and so physical to be able to continue to get fair catches. I mean, those guys are as good athletes you're going to find on your team. So when you're in it, you understand these little things that matter so much and how important the specialists are.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate that. Thank you for that. There's difference in the special teams, and you could tell when a veteran's out there,
right.
And then a rookie, his first 4, 5, 6 games, first half of the season, rookies are getting killed on special teams because they don't know. There's different there are little nuances and things on special teams where a veteran player, will tug a jersey and loop around when they're punt coverage, just little things that. A rookie might not come in and do, but a veteran guy, they make careers out of it. And special teams are, they win football games. And I got friends that coach high school football and even in the college ranks. And I'm like, listen, I would rush every punt if I'm in high school. The chances of the snap, the operation of that stuff being on point,
no doubt.
Why don't we rush every punt? You're going to block one, get a touchdown. You're going to force a horrible punt. So. The special teams part of the game is evolving, but at the same time, I do see some change coming, unfortunately. But hopefully, that's when my career's over.
Yeah, I hope there's a balance between safety and just completely changing the game. And I think, particularly in NFL, when you're getting paid to do what you do, you take on more risk because you love the game and you're getting paid to it, and that's part of it. The special teams is not only just the in the game too. There's a cultural thing, morale, about having a great team, great guys on your teams, leaders on your team. You obviously want that on offense and defense, but you need it on special teams too. So some of my favorite teammates were teams guys that were all in, that practice as hard on defense on the scout team as they did when they were. So having a great team is not only about on the field, but it's about the morale of the entire team that I think people feed off of.
Would you say there's a different hunger on special teams than there are because you got the big money guy, you got big money guys on offense, big money guys on defense? Would you say there's a different hunger and a different way these guys play on teams in the NFL? Because they're most guys are on the minimum. Most guys are on the minimum, and I'll say this: any guy who stays in the NFL for long periods of time is a dog. Most of you know what I mean? To be able to be in the NFL and now to be in the NFL on teams whenever they're looking to cut you a lot of times, right? Because the more expensive you get, they think they can replace you with rookies. So it's just a harder job to stay in for long periods of time. And that's what makes that mentality. Most of the guys are willing to do anything at any time. Their practice habits have to be great. So those guys are, to stay in, they have to do a lot. And so, the money's not guaranteed a lot of the times like it is in other positions. Now, to say this, I know some of the highest paid guys I know are the hardest working guys too. So I've seen it on both sides, but it's definitely it's very hard to stay in the league for a long period of time on teams. So the guys who do it, they're special people. Yeah. I always say it's harder to stay in the league than it is to get into the league. Like, it's harder to stay in and solidify yourself than it is to get in the actual NFL. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree with that. Well, look, think of your process, man. You've been fighting you fought the good fight for a while, and now look at what you're doing now. I mean, that's incredible to be able to. There's a lot of people. I mean, when you're working out when you first got in, and now you're transitioning to long snapper. I mean, there's no guarantee. Like and then you get in a camp, you get cut, and there's a timing thing, right? There's some of these, I played with LP at the Cowboys. He was there 17. Yeah, he's a great guy. I mean, but he played 17 years, so there's sometimes not turnover. And so to have that resilience to stay in it at all costs, amazing what you've been able to do. And that's not, the mental aspect of it's tough.
100%. I was gonna hit on that next, because you've obviously been dealt with injuries in your career, and now we're kind of moving past that a little bit. But talk about the adversity and how you dealt with that, all the injuries you dealt with, coming back, Pro Bowl seasons, injury. Like, how did you maintain your mental standpoint, your physical standpoint, going through all this? Like, give some kids a little bit of advice or a little bit of motivation on like how to get through those times, because I feel like a kid gets down with an injury and they're kind of down in the dumps. Negative energy, mental stuff going on. Like, just give a little advice to somebody that might be listening, that going through an injury and trying to bounce back from that.
Well, first thing, it's the joy of playing. I mean, the fact that I was 28 years old and I'm like, I still had a chance to play football. And the fact that I was in my 30s and I still had a chance to play football. So to me, I'm like, everything is crazy. I mean, I'm playing football and I know I'm injured, but I still have a chance after the injury to play football. Like, I felt so lucky and blessed to be able to play football as long as I played, that I was willing to do whatever injury, who cares, man? I'm going to find a way to come back from it. I'm going to come back. And then second, if you stay in that negative headspace, you are ruining the opportunity that's ahead of you. So if you come in with that negative headspace every day, that opportunity is going to diminish ahead of you.
Yeah.
But if you come in with that positive attitude, with gratitude, fill yourself up with gratitude every day, say, I'm so lucky to be even doing this, the back end of it, you're going to still have that opportunity. So I would say, don't ruin that great opportunity you have ahead of you by being so negative. And listen, that gets hard. I mean, I got 3 years in a row, season-ending injury. Mm-hmm. But I think it was the fact that, man, I love my teammates. I love this game. Yeah. I'm going to do whatever it takes to come. And the fact that I even have this opportunity. I mean, you told me when I was 18, I was playing in the NFL, I would have said, no way, no shot. And so I think it was constantly, changing my perspective towards gratitude of how lucky I was, then feeding into the negativity that can come with injury.
I think seeing you flick off the crowd when you were 18 years old at Char Valley student section, I think right there, then and there, I knew you were mentally, this guy's got it. Yeah. I knew right there when you flicked your shirt up, you untucked your jersey, gave the student section the bird. I'm sitting up there. I will never forget that, dude. I was like, I can't wait.
I was salty. Because we couldn't win in Char Valley, man. When we like, when I was there, we lost like 4 games. I would like, maybe 3 of them were Char Valley, 2 of them were at Char Valley. So we struggled there. And so that, I think it was my senior year. I was dead set on beating you guys there. And of course fouled out. And they probably fouled out on another charge, and then Coach McConnell had a heavy envelope in his pocket, I think. And no, I'm kidding.
Yeah, he might have. He might have. I'm still close with Coach McConnell.
No, he's the best coach in the world. I mean, what an incredible coach. But I got to talk smack. He's unbelievable. And then TJ, how about TJ? By the way, how about TJ? Before we leave, like, talk about a football player mentality on the basketball court. Just how incredible he's been throughout his career. I mean, it is so fun to watch him, and that's that's Coach McConnell. That's the attitude Coach McConnell taught his players, but also obviously TJ raising up and being raised by that. It's incredible to watch him.
Yeah, he looks like an account. He looks like an accountant. I mean, you won't, if he walked in the room, you'd be like, is that guy going to do my taxes? And then you put a ball in his hand, and he
sell me insurance. Yeah.
He'll kill you. He'll kill all the guys in the locker room. Like, they see him walk in, that guy's can come doing our taxes, selling us insurance, and then you put a ball in his hand, he's an animal. He's impressive.
Well, too, and like he's adapted his game. I mean, he was shooting threes. When he was young, he was a little guy, and then he grew into just an incredible athlete. But like, he used to hit every free, and now he can play D, he can get to the bucket, he can shoot. I mean, like, the fact that his game's adapted, and he's played as long as he's in the NBA. It's so fun to watch.
It's remarkable. Char Valley, Char Valley, we got some guys. The Ventrone.
There's no doubt.
Eric Cush, TJ, myself, I'll throw in there, Matt Noska.
Yeah.
Shout out to Noska. I like, Tomlin, Coach T would always mess with me, and he'd say, you're not even in the top 5 best athletes to come out of Char Valley. Despite you being in the NFL, you're not even in the top 5.
That's right.
So I would argue with that every time.
There's some good athletes. Yeah, listen, and the soccer team was good too. There's some good soccer players too. I mean, like McKenzie. So there was like, Char Valley was serious, man. They're serious.
Yes, Jess, you got.
Yeah, I mean, to wrap it up here. So growing up in Pittsburgh, right? What would you tell, maybe the younger version of yourself or those kids in that same spot? It could go, not even just Pittsburgh, but across the world. Like, what did you see as the difference maker? I'm sure you grew up with people that were ballers that never, got into the college game or even the pros. What do you think is the best piece of advice to give kids out there that are also trying to, be in a position similar to yourself? What was those difference makers that you had that you feel like you utilized compared to some of the people that, maybe were better than you when you were younger, but obviously, 2-time Pro Bowler in the league? What is that difference?
That one extreme sense of urgency to get better. I mean, showing up every single day. There's not a day that you can't show up and bring intensity. So to me, that is like step one. When I think of the great players, I've been around every practice, every walkthrough. It's gonna be full tilt. And then second, don't believe people, don't allow anybody to tell you can't do it. I had a lot of people growing up who told me, hey, just keep fighting strong. But I had some people say, no, you're not going to be good enough at in the high school level, at the college level. And so don't let anybody come in and tell you. You go find out for yourself. You go bring that sense of urgency every day. You go be coachable. You work every practice, every step, full speed. But after that, don't listen to anybody except for the positive influence of your life. The combination of the two, I think that's really what helped me. I had an incredible father who showed me, hey, Sean, if you do this the right way, if you work hard, you can do whatever you want. I had incredible coaches who said the same thing. And listen, I was in an area that was highly competitive, who loved football, and I was able to draft off that, which was truly a blessing for me.
I love that. Yeah. I love it. That's awesome. Kids need to hear that because, they fall into this black hole, and I feel like, they get told no, and then they just quit. So I appreciate you sharing that. Before we wrap up, I got to share one more personal story that I got a text from your cousin. So I guess you were 9 or 10 years old. You and your brother were eating some ketchup sandwiches. You spilled a Coke on Connor's sandwich. He ended up getting pissed. He went over to your favorite football, Nerf football. I guess you love this Nerf football. He took a bite out of your Nerf football. It ended up in a brawl. Is that a true story?
That's right. That's one of many stories. Connor and Connor was an incredible influence for me growing up, mentored me, but he just beat the shit out of me daily. We played one-on-one basketball. It's going to end in a fight. We play football. It's going to end in a fight. And so, he's 2 years older than me. That's what your brother does. Right. But that's what made me kind of be able to walk into any situation and compete. And if I got my ass kicked, guess what? I get my ass kicked every day by my brother. But then he'd pick me up and he'd show me the way. But that's just what we did. That was like, hey, if we're going to compete, it's probably going to end up in a fight, and I'm probably going to get beat up pretty good, but I'm going to be back tomorrow to compete again. And so having a brother like that show you the way was huge for me. And Morgan's the same way. We beat up on Morgan, even though he's younger than us. And Morgan was a tough, good football player who loved to play. So, it's I think that comes from my dad's one of 6 brothers, and that's what they did. So kind of pass it down to us.
I love that. I love it. That's noted. Don't fuck with the Lee's ketchup sandwiches, right?
Don't do it. Don't do it. Ketchup. Yeah, I'm not sure I spilled the Coke intentionally because he was being and he ran away, and then he chased me, and then he bit the Nerf, beat the hell out of me, and that's just that was a daily ritual at the Lee house.
I love it. Well, Sean, I appreciate you coming on. I know you're a busy guy. With your daughter now, so I really appreciate you hopping on. This wraps up our 2026, one of our 2026 NFL draft specials, highlighting some of the best WPIAL Western PA players. And this guy right here is top of the line, true professional. Sean, I appreciate you. Like, share, subscribe, retweet. I got to do my little ad read. You know how it goes. I got to get the people to subscribe. Got to get people to subscribe. But no, that's it, guys. You got anything else for Sean? If not, we're gonna let him go. He's probably gonna hit the mountains right now, go skiing.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
All right, Sean.
Appreciate you.
No, I appreciate you guys, man. You guys are the best.